I can't hear anybody.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear
There we
me? Obviously, I
Right
can. Excellent.
You are heard.
Okay, good. So those of you who are there, Steve's going to run the meeting since it's easier to do in person than it is virtually. So since he's there and I'm on Zoom, Steve's going to run it.
Good. So anyway, we don't have any minutes to review this time because this is kind of a special meeting to review the few things that are on our items. So we will have minutes of our last meeting at our next regular meeting. And I don't recall when that date is right off the top of my head.
April 27th.
April 27th.
April 27th. There we go. So we'll have that then.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask if we have anyone who's from the public who'd like to comment at this point on any item of concern. Hearing none. Seeing none. We shall proceed then without public comment.
Yeah.
Are you going to do introductions, Steve?
Sure.
Or since we're not all there?
Why don't we start right here?
Sarah Reiterman. And I'm Kay Leach.
George Hageman.
Aurora Diorio. Lori Kelly.
I'm sure. Steve Pritchard.
And I'm Carol Talukian.
Yes, she's great. So we have no real old business, so let's get right into new business. So I'm gonna, Lori, ask you to go through the necessary parts of these different items so that we can proceed in a more informed manner, since you're working every day with these issues. So
Sure. So for the part-time pay structure, this really began as coming into the position, in my opinion, when I started to look at the pay differences between the part-time employees and the full-time employees. It appeared to me that there was some pay inequity. In an attempt to try to close the gap that currently exists. I wanted to work on a draft that is a more formal part-time pay structure that will help to outline over the course of an employee's time here, what they can expect with salary increases, so that they can see from a comparative perspective how their part-time pay rate is more equitable to what the full-time employees are doing. I used the salary ordinance that the county has for the full-time employees kind of as a guide. So we have certain classifications. The part-time employees are not classified, but they do have a similar structure and they do have a job category. So the thought process was to be able to align the part-time employees according to the job category to where the job duties are more consistent with what the full-time employees are doing.
Lori, a few years ago, I brought this up a long time ago, and I was told that the part-time people were paid at a higher rate than the full-time because they didn't get benefits.
That has not been my perspective. Currently, the part-time pay rates have been 14 to 20. Now that has raised for our department simply because of the nurse practitioner. So that increased that rate a little bit, but just because of her. So currently they are 14 to 20 for the part-time.
Yeah, since you kind of have that outlier, I'm not even sure I would include that particular person in those statistics. I think it would be like a different category.
Correct.
I appreciate you explaining your methods, because when I looked at that, I wondered where the numbers came from and what, you know, what your thinking was for how you came up with the proposed scheme. I of course don't know anything, so thank you also for saying it's currently 14 to 20. Though those rates seem just incredibly low to me, but overall low, and I'm assuming your part-time people do really important work and you need them. And I wonder, without creating inequities with the full-time staff, but I think Kay's point is a good one. The part-time folks, if they don't get benefits, if you have the money and if you wanted to, you could up their hourly salary more. And so I guess I would like to say, if this is as good as we can do, I'm fine with it, but I would like to see everybody brought up more, because I think those are too low overall.
I would say across the board for the entire department, all of our salaries are low, particularly compared to other counties. That number ranges, you know, anywhere from $20,000 difference per year for full-time employees to, you know, $50,000 for some positions. So I think that this is, I'm at least trying to get a good start, because our part-time employees are incredibly valuable and we need to be able to retain them. They need to feel valued and appreciated. And they really should be getting, you know, a fair rate with the job duties they're doing, particularly when they're performing the same duties as a full-time employee.
And this is technical work. Training them, I imagine, takes a minute. And so when you lose people, you know, you have to retrain, and that's never good. So I would vote for upping them if we can for retention to.
But I might point out that, you know, we have a slightly higher turnover rate here, you know, than we've had in the past. Of course, you know, the newspaper would have you believe that, you know, it's due to something else. But as we can look back historically and see that our turnover rate, and obviously, I think salaries have something to do with that, especially in view of what you just told me. I guess I would like to know how our, let's use full-time employees, because I think that's probably a little easier. I'd like to know how our full-time employees compare to, say, the surrounding counties. Are you talking about the surrounding counties or counties more of our same population size?
I'm speaking of both. So I do have quite a bit of data that compares all of the salaries between Monroe County and both counties that are in comparable size. And then just for comparative purposes to see some of the smaller counties and the larger counties, because even a lot of the smaller counties still have, much higher salary rates and they're doing a lot less of the work. So I do have a lot of that data. Jamie has been working very hard at collecting a lot of that information. So it's something I'd be more than happy to share.
So it sounds like we have an issue both with the part-time folks and quite possibly with the full-time people as
Absolutely.
well.
Yes.
And I wonder if that's more of a longer term discussion, like maybe we should, over the next several months, look at the salaries for the full-time people and see what we can do about it, because I know that isn't what you brought us in to talk about today.
I do have, I have a question or comment. So the salaries are set by, there's a range of salaries depending on your job description, correct? But those are set by council, is that correct?
Correct. For the full-time, yes. And then council would have to approve the part-time ranges as well. Mhm.
So currently we have, the ranges we have between full-time and part-time are not equal, even though they're doing the same work.
Correct. In my opinion. Mhm.
And I'd certainly like to see the comparables. Because I think that that's really important, particularly if we're going to go to council and ask them for more money in order to up salaries to something that will help us retain employees. That we need to give them at least an idea of what's going on outside of this county
Mhm.
that would help us do that.
Mhm. Yes, so
So-
Jamie and I have started on that process. So a comparative from ours to the other counties, you can see it side by side. Mhm.
Now, councils had consultants come in and classify all these things and say, so I don't know how much that's tied to conversation.
Well, I'm sure it's tied to what money they feel like handing out to the health department, but the point is that I hope that they recognize how important the community's health is, and that we need to compensate people for the work they're doing and to keep them in employment in this county.
I agree.
So, because as I looked at even descriptions of people's jobs that we got, I noticed some people are required to be certified, doesn't specify when they need to be certified by, and that they need to continue to be certified. Training obviously costs money. And once we've trained them, we don't want them leaving. We want to make sure that we can hold on to people because longevity matters, particularly if they're training the people who come after them. So I think all of those are really important things to consider.
So what do you need from us on your part-time?
Well, I think some direction to like the proposal, the starting place, maybe some direction on changes that you would like to see or more information. Perhaps being able to look at this alongside all of the information that we've started collecting with the other county salaries would be a good tool to
I
use.
have a thought / question for the group. Does it make sense for us to recommend that this, exactly as you proposed it, be passed for now, so that we can get those raises in those folks' hands right now, with an understanding that we will then start a larger project to look at full-time salaries and part-time salaries that might take a little longer?
I would like just one other question before which relates to that, is that for these job descriptions here, and what's COMOT stand for?
Oh, so let me see. I actually have to.
Well,
It's like a computer operator,
Yes.
tech,
Yeah.
like
right.
almost a data entry type of person. I love.
so what would a full-time person be getting at one for COMOTA,
Mhm.
1 year completion? What would a full-time employee be getting?
At the 1 year completion, 1702.
So
Well,
two
no, no.
cents more? That can't be.
Yes, but,
But they would have benefits.
right, so,
Ah,
but
well,
this
there you go,
is, this is,
yeah.
So
this
Okay.
is not
That's a
our
lot of
current
money.
Sure,
structure.
it is.
This is my proposed, this is not what these individuals are currently making. I think, I mean, currently they're making anywhere from 14 to 16. All of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
So
yeah, you know, I don't know that there's anything we as a board need to do here other than give you guidance. We don't, because council is the one who sets the pay raise. Salaries were reviewed just a couple of years ago, like Tom said. I think within the range of what the job description is, you have a salary range, and I think you have some discretion in there. I think we all agree that part-time people should be paid the same hourly rate as full-time people. I think there's some variation because of longevity, and it might be that some of the full-time people have, you know, have more seniority and longevity than some of the part-time people, which may make a big difference in salary range. But I'm not sure that we as a board need to do anything. Is that right, Lee? Are you still there, Lee? Lee was here, but now he's not.
it says he's there.
Yeah, I know. Oh,
Yes,
there he is.
I
Hello.
concur. You're correct, Carol.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree, we're not actually telling you this. We're saying that we find, well, I find nothing disagreeable about your proposal. But we could decide as a group that to give you our blessing. That's really what it
Yeah,
amounts to.
and I think you have a really good plan in terms of finding out what other counties are doing of comparable size and business, and then you take that to council to talk about any other big changes that goes along with the budget, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Lee? That's a budget issue. You're muted, Lee.
I'm sorry. Yes, that is correct, Carol. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting to the buttons quickly. I apologize. Yes, you're correct.
Okay, so I think we don't need to vote on anything, but I think the feedback that you're getting is that, yeah, you're doing the right thing. That's what it sounds like to me. Anybody, what else does that sound
That's
fair?
what it sounds like to me. Do more of it. You're doing the right. Keep going.
Carry on.
I would make one suggestion, and that is not to cast too wide in that when looking at counties. There are probably only maybe 4 or 5 in the whole state that are really counterparts to Monroe. And I think a deeper look at some of those rather than attempting to tie us into a whole bunch of other
Yeah, like-
counties. would be-
Maybe like
Population
Tippecanoe.
size.
Well, I don't know, maybe, you know, a large university, I mean, first thing that comes to mind is Tippecanoe County, so it would be, you know,
I'm not looking
Purdue.
for Bartholomew as well. But I would try to pick population sizes, but also what activities those health departments have. Because I think that's gonna give you a really good range of positions and salaries.
But things like income per capita will also, and a few other benchmarks like that would really focus it in, I think. Because we have such a high cost of living here that everything is a little crazy.
Yeah, we are worse.
Yeah, but the data that we're collecting, it is based on, yeah, we're doing it based on geographic area, so counties such as ours, pulling into the data. We're also doing it on population size, and then, the median income based on, the data we can find on the Indiana Gateway.
Very good, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
She's great.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Go forward.
Moving forward, okay, so for the job descriptions. So I was given the direction to create a new job description for the position that is currently the temporary general environmental. This position will still be an environmental position. The name that I've drafted is a universal multi-specialty position. The primary focus will be within the wastewater section. We do have a high demand there. Over time, this position will learn other areas such as foods and general environmental. This position will be responsible for certain department projects, such as overseeing the department's new public online food inspection reports. The department also needs to get their well water program back up and running. So I thought that this would provide a great opportunity for this position to oversee developing and getting that area up and going again. And long-term, this position will be able to assist in all areas of environmental, including training if needed or as needed, to be able to help provide oversight as needed. And due to the multi-specialty focus of this position, I am proposing this position as a higher classification than what the position currently is. Being able to be trained and assist in all areas, I believe warrants a consideration of a higher classification and therefore a higher pay.
So you're talking about taking a position that already exists and turning it into this, not asking for a new position.
I was given the direction to create a new position. It is the temporary position that we currently have. I am proposing a new position that will be a permanent, full-time, universal, multi-specialty position. Pat C.
Okay, so you're talking about taking a temporary position and turning it into a full-time position with a higher pay classification, basically.
Correct.
Okay, so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Lee, but I think that needs to go through budget. So to add a new position. So what you need is just
Process.
support, what you need is support from the board to say you should put this in the budget, basically. I think we
Yeah,
do have to,
it'll require some collaboration with the council and their attorney. It's a complicated process, time consuming.
okay. But we've added positions in the past. And as the department changes and grows, so. So I think, is that something we need to vote on, just that we want to add this position? Or is this just something that we're going to give you guidance on and you just put that in, and when it comes to budget time, we add that to the budget? Which is that?
You asking me, Carol?
Yeah,
You
we vote on the budget when, we do vote on the budget when we often discuss it ahead of time and talk about what we want to add to it. But I don't think we have to vote on that, just on the budget. Is that right?
Oh, what?
correct. Go ahead.
They are evidently are.
Council is currently funding this position. So the ask would be to continue funding it in 2024 from a permanent basis moving forward.
Actually, I think Lori has been talking with Molly Turner King, who's the council's attorney. Is that right, Lori? That's my understanding. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I think she's going in the right direction. Sounds to me.
Okay, so it sounds like you're doing what you need to do, and
Mhm.
we just, you just need us to support it, and and when it comes to budget time, then that's when we actually vote on it. I think that's true.
So do we all go thumbs up or?
Why don't we just take a vote so that we can just say we support it? Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So,
I move that we support the process
you missed it a little bit.
undergone so far by Lori to upgrade the pay of this person.
from a part-time to a full-time.
It would be a classification change. It would be moving from a Pat B to a Pat C, and moving it to permanent, not temporary.
That's what you want to say.
Change the classification.
Yeah.
A second.
Okay, and moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. There you go.
Moving forward with the discussion of the certified insurance navigator position. Currently, the Futures Family Planning Clinic has an insurance navigator working 1 day a week on Mondays. When this position was originally created, the purpose was to assist with enrolling patients in insurance plans and or to provide guidance and information on different insurance plan options available. A few areas for discussion that I would propose. Currently, Futures is only providing patient care on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This individual is unable to switch days or hours worked. Monroe County Health Department is not registered as an application organization. This is a requirement for the certified insurance navigator to assist with insurance enrollment. Registering to become an application organization consists of 4 steps. This includes an application. This is a $100 fee plus an unknown processing fee. We would need to provide a list of organization details such as our location, hours, address, and so forth. We would need to provide a contact person, complete a conflict of interest disclosure form, and lastly, a privacy and security agreement. Lastly, an alternative for discussion is this position could alternatively be providing an additional clinical assistant position that could work anywhere from 3 to 4 days a week in multiple areas of the clinic, such as providing direct patient care, screening, checking patients in, answering the phone, scheduling appointments, cleaning and taking inventory.
Lori, it's my understanding that the navigator basically is not really signing up many people like for insurance currently.
That
So
was one
really,
of my questions.
Correct. So the insurance navigator has had a conversation and provided information to one individual for the 2023 year so far.
And who funds this position?
So this funding comes from our Title X grant or TANF. So Indiana Family Health Council provides the funding.
Do we need a navigator to support Title X on those days when clients are here? I guess I'm asking about, of the clients that they're seeing, are they voicing a need for those clients to get on insurance so that it can be reimbursed?
I have spoken with the clinic manager. There does not appear to be a high demand. We do have a list of other organizations that provide this service within the county, within Bloomington.
Who else provides that service? Are they accessible? I mean, how easily are they to get to, do you know?
Quite a few of them were with IU Health.
And they're easily accessible?
I mean, the bottom line here is that this person can only be there 1 day a week, not particularly the days that you need them. And they're not really signing up anybody, and we're not even approved to sign people up. Is that correct also?
That is correct.
And so you would like to take the funds currently being used for this navigator and hire somebody who can facilitate many functions for the clinic. I mean, it seems like actually almost like I hate to say this, a no-brainer. It's like, it seems that the funds are being terribly underutilized.
It
Could be
sounds like
used
a better
in-
use of funds.
Yeah.
To me, too.
Yeah, and it wasn't here originally hired under a different grant that expired?
That is correct.
I just need some clarity here. So you're asking whether we take this person who is here under the Title X grant and continue the position, but expand it so that it's this person is utilized in other fields, or are we talking actually about eliminating the navigator position?
We feel that the best use would be to either ask council to fund this position separate from the grant and to be able to use the money that we're paying this position to hire an additional clinical assistant.
And eliminate the navigator position.
Correct.
Yes.
That's what I needed to understand.
No, that was my understanding. Sorry about lack of clarification.
So we don't have any grants right now that requires to have an insurance navigator. That's correct?
That is correct.
And he's only still being paid. When did the grant that he was being paid under expire?
Well, at the end of this month.
I mean, the grant he was originally being paid under.
Oh, I think 10 years ago, maybe. I'm not really sure, but I do believe it was a long time ago.
I'm confused. So
The original grant when he hired in,
Yeah, so so when, I guess my question is, when did that grant expire? Do
Is
we
she
know?
asking about your ongoing Title X funding and when that grant expires? If he's funded under Title X?
He's funded under Title X now, but it was a separate grant. When this position originally began, I don't know what that grant was. Originally,
But the current grant, you say expires at the end of this month, is that correct?
yes, we should be getting a renewal.
it.
Yeah, so our
Okay,
grant
that's-
cycle.
All right,
I don't think we've had the navigator position for a very long time. Do you recall, Steve?
No, I don't recall.
I
I
don't.
don't, yeah, I don't think we've had it for a really long, I don't,
Oh, I think we've had it many years.
Around the bottom.
I remember,
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
I remember when I was working downstairs, there was a navigator.
I can interject here, so we spent ACA,
you see?
Yeah, so 2010,
Okay,
my goodness, a
Sounds like-
long time.
and the ACA. So to help everybody.
Sure,
Okay. So that was Obama's first half of his first administration.
Yeah.
His first-
Yeah, so it's been a long time.
time flies.
Okay, I move that we support getting rid of the navigator position and using that money for clinic support.
So we have a second for that.
Or make it sound better.
well, I'm just trying to understand even the proposal. Before I second it, I need to understand. So if this money is coming to us from a grant and we're eliminating, we're not re-upping on the grant, then am I correct? We're not,
We're re-upping on the grant. The
We
grant
are.
is in place.
but will the grant allow for those funds to be used in another
I
position?
think the grant would do cartwheels. Because it's a Title X grant. My sense is they would much rather have a clinic manager, somebody to see Title X patients, than a navigator who's not even in the clinic when they're serving Title X patients.
Yeah, but her question's good though, because if the grant were specifically for a navigator, then,
Yeah.
you know.
Then you
But
can't
what
use it for
Lori
something
said-
else.
It's not.
No, they give us the set of money. It's not a requirement. The employees that we staff with that money is up to our discretion. So we could have 12 clinical assistants
Yeah.
and 1 nurse practitioner. if
Okay,
That's what. we
that's what I
chose.
needed to understand.
Sure.
So I'll second.
And I apologize. I'm more familiar with that grant, so I didn't need to ask that question, but it's a great question.
Thank you. So that's why I'm seconding your.
Well, thank you.
I think it was good. Good clarification. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to reallocate this position and the funds for a different position. Sort of in a nutshell. Is there any further discussion?
I only have one question, and that's for Lee again. There's nothing that is messed up from the county level through the commissioner's office by doing
Okay,
this,
hold on.
right?
There you go. Okay, I couldn't hear you.
Well, it's really a matter for the council to decide, whether positions are going to be funded, positions are going to be created and so forth. I think my feeling is that this is a little bit beyond the scope of the board. Honestly, I think Lori is doing her part by working with the council's attorney, and the processes are in place and yeah.
So this is just another of those things where we just have to agree with her.
I think it's all good. It's all good for discussion. There are processes that have to be followed to create positions, to stop funding positions and so forth. And it's fine for the Board of Health to discuss all of that, to make recommendations, to give Lori direction and all. And at some point, the council may want to hear a recommendation from the Board of Health
Okay.
about these matters.
So is your motion now to recommend?
Yes.
Okay, we're modifying the motion to recommend to council that the position be,
I think we recommend
Changed.
that Lori take the
Yes.
action
I-
she needs to take.
Right.
I think what you want to do, not to tell you what to do, but I think what you want to do is just vote on a resolution to direct Lori to take the proper steps to move forward on these particular matters in an appropriate manner.
No, Lee, I think actually we do want you to tell us what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well,
Because it really.
I'm an
it really
advisor, not a
helps.
decider, so.
It really helps to have some clarification on these things. Okay, so I think with all the understanding that the motion means that we're making a recommendation that Lori follow through, okay, and it was seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, I do need to circle back to the past job descriptions because I
Yes.
don't,
I was gonna go back.
okay, I got a little off track there.
All right, it was okay. I noticed the out of order, but that was okay. I didn't, who cared?
Okay.
No one cares.
So moving beyond the proposal of the permanent universal multi-specialty. So there were other job description changes that were minimal, but had a focus on more clearly defined roles and responsibilities, such as the senior level positions. In an attempt to make the language more consistent with one another. These are just minor edits that we've done. And the other job description edits that are in the packet, again, just very small changes and making sure that the job descriptions are aligned with the actual functions that that employee is performing, and to provide consistency in the expectations, and including any areas that needed to be included, such as if it requires working outside of the normal Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, if it requires being available for 24-hour emergency response, making sure that those areas are included in each of the positions that needed to be within the packet.
When I read through here, it looked as though most of the changes were fairly to the same on each one, except with minor variations for each job description. I mean, but one of the things I did notice, and I do want to ask you about, is that, and I've thought from the beginning, and I think most of us did, that cross-training made perfect sense, because if you don't know anything about, how can you help out? Okay, so, and I think when I read this, which was just yesterday, that's included in most of these, right? That there's some knowledge to be gained about it, like wastewater foods, or includes some knowledge about wastewater and vice versa. Are we still getting pushback in the department from some employees about this cross-training?
Yes.
Okay, I just can't really understand that. I just can't understand how that can be a real issue. If they know, now I assume that, and which, isn't a good thing to do, but that when you're cross-training, this person has a designated area of expertise that they will be working in most of the time. But we are asking them to be cross-trained in another area. So in an emergency or absence, illness, they can fill in part-time. How does that not make sense to anyone here?
I cannot speak to that for anyone. I think the approach that I would like to try to take moving forward with this, with providing some encouragement, is to try to turn this more into a team-based approach. This isn't about, this is about being able to help fill in the gaps when needed. If someone critically becomes medically ill, is in the hospital for, a month or two, do we have somebody else who can jump in and pitch in to help keep the overall department functioning? We need to start focusing on the big picture. That's what I would like to see happen, and trying to build that team unity. And again, everyone still has their own day-to-day roles and responsibilities. But I don't think there's anything wrong with learning other areas of the department to be able to help in different times of need.
Steve, I think your concern is really important. I'm not sure it goes along with what we need to do, and I'm not sure we can get an answer. But I think.
Well, it's
but
part of the
what you
job
say-
description though, so. yeah.
And that's, I'm happy it's in the job description, and I think it's important that it's in there. When I read the job descriptions, it looks mostly like changing some words, like it looked like wordsmithing. The only question I had was that it looked like in two of them, you have the employees reporting to two individuals. And I was confused about, because normally the person just reports to one person. Do you know, is that ringing bells? Why does a person report to two people, and doesn't that get messy?
Well, that's something that we're actually trying to discuss and work on, how to create that, because there's still your overall manager who should be managing the department. If you have these senior roles that are supposed to be your areas, an individual who's more experienced or the go-to for complaint cases, so the other employees could go to that senior level for some direction or guidance. Say, for example, if there was a septic complaint, they could reach out to that person for some direction and guidance, but they're still reporting to the manager. I am more than open to getting some feedback on that. It is challenging, for example, when you have so many different layers of leadership, and then understanding which role is supposed to be performing which duties.
It seems like, well, from what you just described, and thank you for the clarification, it seems like that situation you gave is the employee needs to seek out a manager that's not his or her supervisor necessarily, for technical assistance, for expertise that they don't have on a topical issue. I don't see that the same way as reporting to on a job description. I see reporting to on a job description as very much, this is my supervisor. This person ultimately does my performance reviews. They help train me. And to me, it would just probably eliminate arguments or problems if there were just one supervisor for the employee. Which doesn't mean that person can't go to the other person with greater expertise.
Yes, I feel like in some cases, the senior position, and this is just based upon my experience, would be more like your lead, your go-to, but you're still reporting to the manager. The manager is still overseeing, like you're saying,
Your
the job
time, I'm
performance,
sick,
your
I'm
time,
on
time
vacation.
off.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree, Aurora. I noticed the same thing. And another thing I was wondering about was these certifications. Are the certifications, how detailed are they? What does it take to get a certification? How often do you have to get it renewed? What does it entail? Do you have a lot of education with it? Like on one of these, I can't remember which one, it was like, say, a Pat A. I noticed two different people that would be in that category. Okay, one of them had one certification they had to have, but on the other one, there were two certifications. Well, what was involved there? So when you're trying to compartmentalize, as far as pay, skills, or whatever, that's something I wondered at how much we looked at was the certification.
I think that's a very valuable point. And I think that that's something that I should really try to focus on, especially if I'm going to be getting the rest of this data for the different, comparing the different counties, because I do think that that's something to take into consideration. Are the educational requirements and certifications aligning with what the pay is that person is receiving?
But I do agree that you have one boss that you report to.
So I would love any feedback on, maybe how we should more properly define that, a different way that we could represent that in the language, any type of direction with that, I think we're very open to that.
So the person I saw that reported to two people was the new position, the universal multi-specialist position. You have reporting to both the EHS service manager and the senior environmental health staff.
Oh, then there are two more positions.
Well, these
That
are the ones
reported
that I
to
saw,
others.
and that they were
Yeah.
certified ×3, which is great. It doesn't say when they'll be certified in those 3 areas. But when I looked at that, I thought, is this position more of almost like a deputy to the service manager? And because they're looking at such a broad range of positions and they're needing to know about well water and foods and projects and all of these other things, that to me, it looks like a deputy position. Maybe I'm wrong. This is all really new to me, but I don't see them going to the senior health staff as a supervisor. That's just my take on it. I think all of these people, all the senior staff, including this position, need to be working together, obviously. But I would see them reporting to the service manager. And maybe I'm way off base, but I also would like to see where it says, I mean, it's so many of these positions, it says certification preferred, certification within 4 months. Some say able to be certified. I don't know what that means. And I think certification, like Kay says, matters. And I think it matters in terms of how we see ourselves as a health department and our own ability to be certified at the highest levels as a health department. I'm complete.
I do think that the universal position, long-term, once that employee gets established, gets some good training, that a good long-term goal for that position is to serve in that type of deputy role that you are saying. They can be that go-to person if the manager takes a 2-week vacation. They can be that go-to individual for each of the other 3 areas for issues or concerns. And again, to be able to assist with training, because they will have knowledge in all of those areas and be able to serve in that backup capacity. As far as the reporting structure, again, it's challenging. It's yes, challenging.
Usually those things are directed by an org chart.
Mhm.
Does an org chart not help us in this instance? Like drawing the lines between, this is the manager for this, this and this, and these people manage these and these.
I'd be happy to see what the board, kind of thinks their perspective of an org chart. Do we have a copy of the?
Are you talking about this?
Oh. Yes, so that's the proposal one, I believe that's it.
So another one here, here. I don't know if this is the same one.
Yeah.
What's the one that-
There's, those were the ones you had here. That one I printed from home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is current, so it
This one
would,
is not.
it looks like they're the same.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
That says of 16 February 2023. Says it up in the top corner.
Okay.
I do. Thank you. I don't think this is the one the council office.
That's the one that we, so that's our current structure as it currently is. If you look on the very left, where the environmental health is, you can see that there's the environmental resources manager, underneath then you'll have your senior wastewater person, and then you have, EHS wastewater, you know, the senior food person, and then underneath them you have the two different food people. Our senior general person, and then the EHS general person. How we're proposing to send to PAC would actually make it where all of them just report directly to the environmental services manager.
That's a thought.
So.
You know, I guess thinking about our role. I don't really care how you do it. I think it needs to work for you. I think your employees need to know who their supervisors are, and your managers need to know who they're responsible for. And other than that, I don't have much feeling about how it gets done.
The only other thing I thought about when I started through the job descriptions and went through them and through them, I thought about this, the governor's public health commission, and how are these in line with what they have that they're printing now? Should our representatives in the future or our elected officials decide to go that route, how are they in line with it? I mean,
Well, we're definitely less capacity. We need 61 full-time employees if we're gonna be aligned with the legislative proposals.
So I guess they're gonna fund that, so it's not our problem.
well, they did have something about
Are
job.
they gonna build a new building to house them all too?
Department of Health that has a calculator based upon population size and the number of services that the health department is currently providing. So we put in the figures of what we currently have, the services we're currently providing, and we should have 61 full-time employees.
Okay.
I did read
Thank
through
you.
that or
That's
glance
helpful.
through it and so forth, what I found, and they did have something about job classifications, and they had something, I believe, about job description.
Well, I think, we can't
27.
know how this is gonna end. At this point, this is kind of just,
No.
what do we want to do here today with what we know?
Thank
We can't worry about what we don't know yet, but good point. I mean, it's, the whole thing could change, but we'll,
Deal with that when it happens.
yeah. I don't have if you think this is gonna work, then as it is, I personally don't have a big problem with it. I guess you go forward, and then if something's not working, you change it.
I think that's fun.
As an overall generalization, I would like to see a more flat structure. In other words, multiple people reporting to one individual as opposed to a
Mhm,
string of commands
mhm,
running up a ladder.
mhm. I do think that could be beneficial in many ways and eliminate some of the
Cross training.
confusion and right. So I think the goal is, how do we create that type of structure where everyone is reporting to that one singular manager, but that we still have those valuable senior roles that are at more of that lead capacity, the expert in that area. So they still have there's still that opportunity for advancement based upon, building your skills and your years of experience, being that go-to person. But eliminating some of the multiple steps of the chain of command.
This is another
Again.
one where we say we support.
Again,
Lori.
I think that, I don't have a big objection to what you've done, so I would just say. If you're doing it this way and it's working and not creating constant confusion, or you're not getting constant complaints, although you may, you're not really in control of that completely, then it should be fine, but if you'll just change it if you need to, right?
So does the board think that we should, for example, with this area, that you have the one manager and everyone under that, regardless of the section that they're in, reports directly to that manager? Or that they should continue first reporting within that primary section and then reporting to the manager?
Well,
I
that,
think-
that senior person reports to the manager, right?
Mhm.
Carol, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I think that the biggest issues in the Environmental Health Services Division. That's where the most people are. And I think that within that division, there are certainly people who have more expertise in either foods or wastewater or, wells and sewers, whatever. So I think it's important that, the septic systems, those people, all those things. But so I think that, and there's having a senior person as you do now in each of those three areas is important because they're the experts in that area. And I don't have any issues with the people in that division reporting to that person. I mean, in many businesses, there's several layers of management. And then the senior managers that report to the division manager.
Yeah.
So, and that makes sense to me, the way it's set up now, because you have, and it's particularly environmental services, which is big, where things are very, very different depending on what division you're in. So I can't see all those people reporting directly to a single manager because a single manager is not an expert in all three of those things. So I think the intermediary managers are really useful, and particularly, like I said, particularly in that division.
Yeah,
So whatever works for you.
I mean, I see these people report to their senior person, wastewater, food, and that makes sense to me. And then those three people report to the manager.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's that organizational chart works right now, works for me, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
So,
And I think that's what your job descriptions are reflecting. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it looks like there's really two managers, but supervisors, but really there's an intermediary supervisor for and then the senior positions in each of those three areas report to the manager of the environmental health section.
Right.
So not everybody in that section is reporting to the environmental health manager. They're reporting to their senior managers in that division. Correct? And that's what the job description should reflect. And
Yeah.
having read them a few days ago, I can't remember exactly what they say, but
okay,
I think we're all saying the same thing. It was just unclear because it looked like they were going to 2 or 3 different people. But you're expecting the senior people to go to one person and you're expecting these other people to go to the senior. So,
yeah, that's how the lines are drawn here. Yeah.
right.
yeah, that's exactly how it's drawn out on the chart.
Yeah, it might have read a little different.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, I don't know that we is there any
Actually,
further
we have to vote on changes in job descriptions, right, Lee?
Say
We have to
again, I'm
approve,
sorry.
we have to approve the job description changes, right? We have to vote on that.
Recommend them.
So we have to recommend them and vote on recommending the changes
Well,
as
let's
proposed by,
vote in the next
Lori.
2 minutes, 'cause my meter's going to
And
expire.
we can vote.
Yeah, the council will
Everyone, right?
change the job descriptions based upon your recommendation, if they accept the recommendation.
All right, so we're gonna do this.
I'll make a motion that we accept the changes that Lori has proposed and recommend that council accept them.
A second.
A further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? All right,
Let's save your car.
Let's save my car.
good.
Thanks, you guys. I'll see you in April.
You will.
Bye, Ron.
Yep. Motion to adjourn. So move.
Good job.
Aye.
Good job. Aye.
Since there was
All right.
so much confusion around what the actual descriptions say, it sounds as if we should actually be able to see the cleaned up version. Since there is confusion about how it's written and what it says. So I'm wondering if, once it's cleaned up,
What do you, give me the,
Well,
which one of these actually read that way? I just want to go back and read.
I don't know which ones. I've just read so many of them. I don't know, but I know.
Yeah, there were a lot of them.
Being said today, somebody was reporting a population health manager and then somebody else.
and the one I saw was the universal multi-specialist is going to report to both the service manager and the environmental health staff,
Copy this from me.
the senior and environmental health staff. So those are the ones that I picked out. Other people obviously are seeing more. I didn't find it.
Would that be like
That nearly is-
environmental health specialist, general?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there's a new one too.
yeah, well, that was the one that,
Yeah.
that I
I
picked
think
out.
that's the
That,
one I saw.
that, I was like, how can I report to both people? So I don't know what everybody else was picking up in terms of reporting to different people. The rest of them were clear to me who they reported to.
Yeah, and Laura, you've reviewed these with Molly, right?
Well, this one right here.
Not yet.
Community
I
health
had to get the
specialist,
board
harm
to,
reduction. It
review them
says-
first.
So you'll review these with Molly, who is the council attorney, Sarah.
And the senior
Okay.
community health
All right.
specialist. That's one right there.
Yeah. I didn't
All right, now
see
what's,
this one.
which one's that on?
This is the community health specialist harm reduction. Health.
Okay.
Um,
And how does it read?
I'm taking off, guys. So I think we're done. So
the population health.
see you all
management
later.
And the
What?
senior.
I'll see you later.